this computer. Cool. I think we're rolling now. So idea 006. We've done a few of these. The coolest thing is Claire, who I just met, and we talked briefly before this. She reached out and said, "Hey, I got a cool idea," and I have a couple different ones kind of stewing around as well. But so me and Claire started chatting, but she hit me with this awesome idea and just a little bit about it. So I haven't heard the full thing yet, and so she was down to kind of say, "Hey, you want to come on Zoom and just like pitch the idea, and we'll see if it goes to auction, see if we get bids on it." So this is Claire. Claire, what's up?
Hey.
You have an idea, and you told me a little bit what it's about, but maybe hit me with it, and I'll try to help you like walk it through, because sometimes explaining ideas, like I think it might help if there's two people asking questions and like, you know what I mean, kind of like navigating it. So if you get lost in there, just hit me, but you're probably way better at this than I am. So
Yeah. Okay. So my idea, I think, was initially inspired by one of your previous ideas, and kind of a response to COVID and like the COVID situation, and especially like the shifting sort of response to COVID when it comes to events, and also about sustainability and merch. So I kind of the origin of the idea, I was with my boyfriend in Moab, and we went to this t-shirt shop where I learned from, I think the owner described this event that he does every year called the Easter Safari, where people from all over the world come to this t-shirt shop, and then they do this like safari out in Indian Creek, which of course had been canceled this year, but he nonetheless made a ton of merch related to this event, and decided to sell it. But now with the stipulation that the event was canceled, he kind of, I think, ingeniously started layering all the graphics in the merch with this canceled graphic. So here's one of the stickers he made. So
Gotcha. Nice. I don't like that graphic.
Yeah,
in general, it's pretty good.
it's kind of great. Yeah. And like my first response was like, I obviously bought this because I thought it was really special. And then I started, we started thinking about how it's maybe even like more special because of the uniqueness of the situation. Also just like the dramatic, result.
Yeah.
And so, and he was like, yeah, actually we sold out of all of the canceled merch. So then he started printing the stickers like this one and t-shirts that included the canceled graphic in the artwork. So it's all like one layer. This isn't like the two,
So it just
the double layer.
it became his graphic, like kind of organic.
Yeah. And he was just as sort of excited that clearly like there's an audience for, it has some kind of potency, more than like the average slew of merch to emerge from like an event. There's like an event that didn't happen can result in like an even more desirable sort of souvenir. So that kind of that idea of just like how something that's canceled and didn't happen is potentially like even more desirable and more like of a more commemorative than something that did happen, was kind of stewing on our minds. And then just a couple of days ago, the Billabong pipeline surf competition was canceled because a bunch of the competitors, I think, but also like the organizers tested positive, and so they have made a ton of merch, a ton of pipeline merch. And so I assume that this stuff is kind of just sitting there. I don't know how many people are buying it, but so the idea essentially is to kind of develop some sort of graphic program or process for layering a commemorative canceled like logo on top of existing stuff that has already been printed, or stuff that hasn't necessarily been printed, but if these companies or organizations need to raise money to survive, like to actually move forward with
Flip
their
that product.
yeah.
I think it's an awesome idea. I think so. My mind goes a couple different places. Like as soon as I hear it, and I think one side of it, from the marketing or like just funny, ironic side, is it makes me want to start either a merch brand or start making fake events and canceling just to have a canceled events merch brand. So it's just like this is a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but then the other side, as far as a more useful kind of municipal thing, is like I'm sure there's a lot of places, whether it's like a farmer's market or something like that, who had intentions of an event being on the calendar and then looking for a resource of saying, hey, we made this stuff, or like, we're canceling it this year. Even having some sort of kind of like repository for graphics that are maybe all cohesive, and everyone knows that that graphic means, hey, it's canceled. And there's some sort of unity in all being and missing out on this year's, this year's farmers market, or this year, whatever it is together. But that branding becomes almost like for example, if it was a website and it had one graphic on it, or if you wanted to go layers deep, you could say, hey, we have this nonprofit that makes this canceled graphic, and it goes to all these different, the money goes to all these different places, but then we tap artists to come in and create a new canceled graphics. Therefore, if you have a great artist that made this canceled logo, I would want to go buy that shirt, and it would support the local farmers market, and the proceeds could go either there or some, you know what I mean? So there's a way to kind of like, basically, in my mind, that's where my mind goes on the other side. So either way, I think it's a really good idea. But I love the idea of getting a bunch of people to understand, and kind of this like camaraderie, and that we all missed out on a lot of stuff in 2020, and for whoever knows how long. And you can still get that t-shirt, you can still support your restaurant or whatever, these things that were coming along. And here's a way to, like, I don't know, understand it through this graphic design or whatever.
Totally.
If
Yeah.
that, I mean, I don't know if that's kind of what you're thinking. That's just where my mind goes, but I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like, it could either go like in that direction where there's kind of a single kind of unified, like a sort of hub for this idea
Yeah.
that would hopefully get the attention of not only like a farmer's market or, a small kind of like niche kind of yearly gathering that maybe wants to continue to put stuff out there and create
Yeah.
like a commemorative object, or larger scale, like, especially merch related industries or merch related communities, like skating or surfing, or like, Dead and Co. Like,
Totally.
I don't know what the Dead and Co. merch situation is around coronavirus, but I don't think that they've done anything that is kind of commemorative or like acknowledges this year. Yet they're like, they have so many kind of dedicated followers who want to buy merch. So something like that, I think like I don't think that these large kind of organizations necessarily understand that that is special, and that like there's like people want commemorative,
I did.
Yeah.
I did see a cool one from, speaking of Dead Co. Jeremy Dean did this kind of, he's this artist I like, but he did a cool one and said, I think it says no tour this year or something like that. And it has the date stuff on it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't really seen anybody do it quite like that. And then he even kind of mashed up, he kind of did a play on another graphic based off that, Beastie Boys, and kind of mashed these two together. So it was even another layer of like meaning. So it wasn't just like, hey, here's the event, we put the canceled on it. He said, here's another time that a tour was canceled or whatever, merge those and then drop the canceled thing on it. So I love that idea. But I think like what you're saying, it reminds me like when like May, like April, May, when we first started seeing a lot of the restrictions and lockdowns and stuff, and you're in LA, right? Yeah, you're in LA. Everyone was going online looking for the proper signage for their restaurants and for their businesses, like COVID, whether it's safety or CDC guidelines, and a lot of the graphic design was really bad. And I remember looking on there and just going through images, and I was like, man, like it seems like all the graphic designers, like, and I'm sure there's cool ones now or cool people providing it. But my wife, who also does design stuff, and she's she's on commercial projects, she's like, how come no one's designing cool bathroom signs yet, or cool, you know what I mean? So like, and some people are just getting there, it's cool door stops, but not enough. So I think like taking those tools and kind of merging them with, whether it's something like kind of like COVID or whatever related. But I love your idea that the guy in Moab of taking the canceled, I love the story that he took it to preserve the shelf life of his merch, and more people found kind of that story like having value, that it turned into his regular merch, and he's selling more of that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't know. I just love that. It's a cool
Yeah,
idea.
I had to go digging around for this morning, but I collect feed sacks, which are, this kind of odd phenomenon where grain manufacturers like started designing feed sacks in anticipation of their reuse
Yeah.
by, housewives making clothing. So they started getting really colorful back during the Depression. And I found this one, and this was like a very, very sought after like misprint, but the misprints get like labeled with this
No.
yeah, like they just get kind of like layered with
How?
this yeah, and I don't know, I just kind of, it reminded me of the not only like the kind of commemorative like logo mark idea, but like the idea of layering it on top of something pre-existing, I think is like another cool kind of direction for this. Yeah.
I also like the idea that like it may be, so this is when I had that. Yeah, I like the idea like with the layering, because it also gives the lifespan of a product. It's not like product's done, it releases. If it doesn't sell, it goes on sale and it's done, and then it's at the Goodwill or something. It actually says that that value is still there from the original product, and you can continue adding value to it, and make it more appealing as it goes on. And some people have done that through upcycling or whatever. But I actually like the idea of, okay, you take this screen print that was touched on. This screen print was done 30 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, 40 years ago, 60. Let's take that. And I think it's a really scary thing, because you're kind of like, do I want to mess with it? And I love the idea of saying, hey, this is a misprint, but should we take the risk and print over top of this old print? Most people say you're ruining it, but I love the idea that you could add value. So I think that there's this, I talk about it all the time, but the idea of loss aversion is like, we're much more scared of losing what we have what we think we have value in, versus seeing what we could gain. So when we find something that's old or interesting, or maybe it's 15, 20 years ago, like that misprint, what would it take for you to print on top of that yourself as an artist? Because it's scary to think that you could lose the value that's in there, mess it up. But what if you gained it and made it so much better, made it cooler? And so I don't know, like I said, that's just a conversation. I don't know if it's part of the idea, but
No,
I get
totally.
scared sometimes when I find something really great, and I'm like, I kind of want to, it kind of be cool if I like edited this a little bit, but because it's a little bit older, you feel like you're going to lose that value, versus, take the risk and see if you could gain a little bit. Cause what if you mess up or ruin it or whatever? So in our minds, I guess, but I like that he was saying, hey, look, I have all this merch. It's not going to mean anything because it was canceled. So I'm going to take the risk and put canceled over all this merch. And he could have messed it up, and I'm sure he did, but taking that risk, I think there's so much value in there. And I think that having a system to do that, like you're saying, with all the events, like I said, whether it be merch-based events, concert tours, whatever, is a way to still use that, or put it out without even it existing in the first place,
Yeah.
and still, I guess, support creatives. Like, I'm rambling now, which I think I
No, no,
usually
no.
do, but
Yeah.
could you create a product? Like, let's say you're a musician, and they're saying, hey, you're still putting out tour merch. You guys haven't been on a tour for 2 years because of COVID or whatever. You say, yeah, but that's no reason not to still put out tour merch. These are the cities I'd go to, and we're still using the canceled thing. And so we're going to continue putting it out. Like it was a tour. And I think people that would say, hey, he would have came to my city this year, and I still like him, and he made that T-shirt, so I'm gonna go in on it. You know what I mean? Like, still supporting and producing that product in some way or another. So I don't know. It's a fun topic. I like that idea. That's so net. The idea is to sorry, you had it perfectly explained, and I went off on a tangent. But net, it helped me understand. It would be kind of an idea to produce kind of a canceled overlay that's maybe widely accepted or used or accessible, um, for and take that and either somehow partner or sell or give access to larger corporation or events to use in their existing merch to kind of recycle that merch versus getting rid of it or losing the value in it.
Yeah, and also with the added kind of opportunity for generating more profits or generating more proceeds that would then channel back into something that makes sense, given our the situation.
Yeah,
Yeah, alternatively, that a designer or someone with the means could um, create like a hub for this,
yeah,
and potentially do the overlaying themselves,
yeah,
like World Surf League or whatever would collaborate with them and release their pipeline merch with this overlay, along with like a slew of other companies, and that could be just like a single website or like a single kind of home for that to generate
yeah.
more profit. Yeah, I don't know.
That's idea 006. Ed, something just came to me. Idea 006, bid on it, auction, and I'll leave you. So I just thought my mind goes to the streetwear stuff just because I'm thinking all different markets and stuff, but there's got to be so much Olympic merch that got made. I just think like this is the time. Cause canceled sign over all the Olympic merch, and it would, you know what I mean? Everyone would probably pack up, line up in droves, and to try to get one Olympic merch, but two with like bubbly lettered cause
Oh,
canceled
or
thing.
with like the X through the ring.
Totally. So that's an idea for someone. It's up for auction. So let us know if you like it. And Claire, thanks so much. This is so cool. This is also the first one we've done with someone else. So this is awesome because I didn't know Claire before this. She reached out with an idea, and we've talked about so many ideas since then. So thanks so much. I appreciate it.